This is 3 News Daily.
Hi there, everybody. Thanks for being back with me here on 3 News Daily on this Tuesday, October 4th. I'm Stephanie Haney. Thanks for being here for the top stories from WKYC.com and our WKYC app. And we start with a top story that is far from over because the walleye fishing tournament controversy is moving on. The Ohio Department of Natural Resources says its officers are getting a report ready to send to the Cuyahoga County Prosecutor's Office. Yes, this is turning into a criminal investigation. Jake Runyon and Chase Kaminsky are accused of stuffing their catches with weights and fish fillets to win a Lake Erie fishing tournament. That happened over the weekend. Now, they haven't been charged with any crimes yet, but they have both won more than $100,000 in prizes from other fishing tournaments. So you can see why this is a very big deal. This is turning into a more intense investigation. Tournament organizers are saying they are changing the rules for weigh-ins because nobody wants this to happen again. Now to Cedar Point, where police have arrested 2 people and they're accused of public indecency. This happened on Friday night during one of the HalloWeekends events near the Fairground Freak Show haunted attraction. The suspects were a woman from Stowe and a man from Brunswick, and police are saying that a 17-year-old girl recorded video of the 2 of them, quote, making sexual contact. The charges have also been upgraded because the witness was a minor in the scenario. In East Cleveland now, a police officer pleaded not guilty today to aggravated robbery, theft, and other charges. Alfonso Cole is one of several East Cleveland officers who has been recently charged with crimes, and Cole's charges come from things that he's accused of doing between July 2020 and July 2021, so a year span there where he's accused of doing things including stealing money, suspected marijuana, and guns from victims during traffic stops. Now in Akron, there's a man who's accused of shooting and killing a teen, and he has been indicted. Police say Adaris Black shot Nakia Crawford in 2020 while she was in a car with her grandma, and police think Nakia was mistaken for someone else. The U.S. Marshals found Black hiding in Georgia earlier this year after searching for him for almost 2 years before bringing him back here to Northeast Ohio. And in Cleveland, as part of Operation Clean Sweep, 50 fugitives accused of violent crimes in Northeast Ohio have been arrested. The police here have worked together with state and federal agencies to make the arrests, and the charges against these suspects include things ranging from aggravated murder all the way to kidnapping. Now, here's something that I have noticed when I've been walking around the neighborhood. It's definitely mushroom season, and you can see these in the yards as you walk by. And there are amateur foragers who could potentially make deadly mistakes if you're out picking mushrooms. University Hospitals has been a regional center for the treatment of mushroom poisoning over the last decade, and 3 people have been hospitalized for severe poisoning already this year. So this is not something that you want to mess around with if you don't know what you're doing. Senior health correspondent Monica Robbins introduces us to a very lucky man. This man is from Portage County. He ate one of the deadliest mushrooms in the state and thankfully lived to tell us about it.
Bill Hickman's a beekeeper, often uses a plant identifier app on his phone to know what's growing around the yard for his bees. He found some mushrooms in the yard. The app said they were puffballs, safe and edible. It was wrong.
I ate them for dinner. Thankfully, my wife and son didn't. And about 8 hours later, I became violently ill.
Bill had no idea he'd eaten one of the deadliest mushrooms, known as a death cap or angel destroyer.
Basically, it's about an 80% death rate if you eat one, and I ate 4.
His wife Tammy sent a picture of the mushroom to Poison Control.
If it had been just a mushroom that makes you sick, you would throw up within a couple hours after eating it. So what they look for at Poison Control is the longer delay of onset illness, the more toxic it is.
Typically within 8 to 12 hours, they develop very severe diarrhea, nausea, and vomiting.
Tammy rushed him to the hospital, where he was then transported to UH Cleveland Medical Center, where they have experience with toxic mushroom poisoning. But the prognosis wasn't good.
He basically was preparing me for the worst. He said that they were expecting that he would be on a donor list for liver transplant. And most, that would be the good outcome of what they were seeing, that he could die.
Bill's body was shutting down from amatoxin. After the vomiting, things actually get worse.
And that's when the really scary part of this disease comes along. And that's when you start developing inflammation of the liver. Up to 30% of patients either the onset of lethal illness, death, or the need for an urgent liver transplant.
Fortunately for Bill, UH knew how to access a non-FDA approved amatoxin antidote called Silibin. It took a day to get to him, but it did save his life.
So it about sixfold reduces your risk of actually potentially having a lethal illness or needing a liver transplant.
So when the doctor comes in and tells you you're heading in the right direction, it gives you a second chance, and it's just amazing.
There will be no more mushrooms in the Hickman house unless they're actually cookies. But Bill's story is one any amateur forager needs to heed.
Did not know there were toxic mushrooms in Ohio.
No more mushrooms. No.
Monica Robbins.
Monica, thank you for doing that story. I've got to say, that's very scary, especially if you're walking around the neighborhood with a dog. I think I've seen that. Okay, thank you very much. Now, to the satire website The Onion. It's filed a brief with the United States Supreme Court in support of a man who was prosecuted for making fun of the Parma Police Department. This happened on Facebook. The man's name is Anthony Novak, and he was arrested several years ago after making a parody account of the department on social media, and they clearly did not like that. This is a fascinating story. Our Neil Fisher will have more. That's including an interview with the Onion writer who filed the brief. That's coming up at 4 on What's New. All right, now let's talk baseball, because the Guardians are hosting the Wild Card Series in the playoffs. That's starting on Friday, and we might know who they'll play today because it's down to the Tampa Bay Rays and the Seattle Mariners. So the Mariners have a doubleheader today, and if they win both of those games, the Guardians will play the Rays. Or if the Mariners win one of their games and the Rays lose today, the Guardians will play the Rays. Now, as either of those scenarios happen, then we know that the Mariners will play the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, if those things don't happen, we'll still have to wait and see who the Guardians will play on Friday, but we will be keeping our eyes on it. And that brings us to our question of the day today. Who would you like to see the Guardians play in the first round of the playoffs? Tell us which team you want, whether that's the Mariners or the Rays, on the WKYC Facebook page, and we'll talk about what you think coming up at 4 on What's New. Tell us why, too, if you have a particular reason. I've seen some of the early comments coming in. We've got some savvy baseball fans out there. All right, thanks for being here for 3 News Daily today on this Tuesday, October 4th. I hope you all have a beautiful fall day. Remember, we'll see you back here tomorrow with more 3 News Daily.